Anyway.
Starting now. Cacao!
I'm so lit. Ceremony grave.
And I let it all go just to keep a minute. So they came from the snow. Now we in the sun. Yeah, we having fun. And we travel around the world. And I'm sipping cacao. And it's open up my heart. Lines made mushroom. Yeah, really made me smart. And I'm on the guitar with Don the ukulele. Shout out to my bro, co-sister Haley. Whole fam, whole tribe. Yeah, to stand up. Open up my heart. Yeah, it's time to fill up.
I love this song.
Yeah, we lit like chocolate.
Get lit. Who's ready to get lit?
Yeah, we lit like chocolate. I'm drinking that cacao and open up the hot shotgun.
Hola, luminous souls. We're ready to start another one of our cacao conversations.
Woo! Let's go. The cacao. Woo! Oh yeah. Welcome everyone to Cacao and Conscious Conversations. I'm Judy.
And Iggy with Living at Home.
And we got our cacao. Woo!
Yes, we do.
In our 10 mocha cups. I can't even say enough to this style of teacups. It's handmade. I just love these cups. This one looks like a fairy, you know, made just for me because I'm a fairy. Iggy has the this is a Aurora, the Aurora cup. It's called Aurora.
It's also rainbows in it.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Aurora Borealis, so I like that so much. So welcome everyone.
Yeah, so what's today's topic?
Well, so today we are going to be talking about our egos.
That's a big one.
We all have them.
Yes.
All of us.
They're not necessarily organic. So let's talk about that. This was something mind-blowing for me when I discovered that ego is not something that we are supposed to have. And that ego is actually an artificial construct that was implanted in humanity. And it actually has a physical place within our body where it has been inserted, and that's in our coccyx, right? So tail of our backbone.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because that is really where our root chakra is, right? And so like the root chakra is all about getting, connected to the planet, right? That's your stability, your foundation. And that's where the ego is planted right there. It's just like, whoa, okay. So lesson number one, ego is not your amigo, right? Ego is not who you are. That's that's your false sense of identity. That's not, at all who we are or supposed to be. But we are so programmed that we tend to associate ourselves with our ego, right? And then all those definitions that come around that, as we are programmed, okay, this is your name. I'm associating myself with my name, with my thinking, with my degrees, my titles, my work position, whatever it is. Exactly.
I'm a sister, I'm a brother, your
all of that. What neighborhood I'm living in, what house do I live in? My nationality, my religion, whatever. And those are all aspects of ego and self-definition, but that is not who we are. Who we are is much, much larger, and really we are energetic beings. So we're not even physical beings, right? Physicality, is only one aspect of our existence, very small fragment of our existence. So it is important to keep that in mind and to work on ourselves so ego doesn't have a dominant impact on ourselves if that's what we choose.
Yeah, and so there can't be such a draw towards staying in the energy of, you know, whatever your ego emits. So we can get into these ego traps, right? Where especially when we get triggered, okay, that's like a huge one. Whenever we get triggered, somehow either you get upset, you get angry, sadness, whatever the thing is that triggers you, that we get trapped in those emotions, and then we define ourselves, you know, in those emotions. Some people feel so low, and they feel so low all the time that they say, like, I'm depressed, you know, like, I'm like, whoa.
And that's really victim mode mentality, right? That's when the world is against me, everything is rigged against me, and I'm a victim of all the circumstances, what other people are doing to me. I'm victim to my disease, whatever. So we don't take ownership of all of that, that we actually picked this or we created it.
Right. And so sometimes we can't see that we are in like an ego trap, that we are immersed so much in our ego selves that we can't take a step back and look at ourselves and like, ooh, who's dominating me right now? It's my ego that's dominating me right now. My ego is totally taking over right now. And so, you know, there are times where it takes over, you know, so much. And we come into this place of judgment of ourselves, right?
Yes. And then everybody else around us, right? So when we catch ourselves judging others, that's always a reflection of ourselves, like how we see ourselves and how we judge ourselves. So one of the tools that helps me to kind of like rise above that and to not let ego have such a control over me is to put myself in perspective that, like, I came here to play a game. Okay, so this dimension, this existence here is just a giant game.
Hologram.
It's, well, yeah, it is a hologram, and all of it, but all of it is a game, right? And so we are eternal beings. We come here for very small fraction of time, and I blink in like really cosmic existence, right? And we assumed this character, this body, this personality, name, and everything else that comes with that, and particular ego that is formed by the circumstances of this incarnation, right? And so when I hold that perspective of a game, then I can look at it, okay, so what do I desire for myself as a game player in this game? And I can see that there are certain rules that have been imposed upon us. Of course, there are certain rules like laws of physics and whatnot that we can't bend so much, but there are other rules that have been imposed by society, by our parents, and how else we were formed, and we can't change those. So once you understand you're a creator being, you can change that, and you can impact it, and you can choose not to have, not to give so much power to your ego.
And so, like how Iggy is describing it, like when you understand that you are in a game, and so if you look at it that way and say like you're in your own video game and you were programmed, right? You were programmed. There are certain like things that were inserted in you that were programmed inside of you, and then you live out that program, right? So things like, say for instance, you know, something happened in your childhood that was totally traumatic, and then it caused like a feeling of mistrust, like it's, so then you can't trust anybody. So then as you live your life, that programming that because of that trauma that was instilled in you, maybe when you were a little kid, then when you grow up, then you just can't trust anybody else, right? So it's like, oh,
that is actually a lesson in disguise.
Yeah,
right?
It is a lesson.
So that huge trauma is an opportunity for growth, for expansion, for the soul, on a soul level, right? but we have to play it out in physicality. So you can choose to exist in victim mode reality for the rest of your existence in this game, and you will have different experience in life. Or you can choose to transmute that, heal that, grow from that, be actually thankful for that lesson, because now you have different perspective. You elevate yourself above the lesson and experience. You're no longer in a suffering mode, and now you're taking it to a different level of experience and existence.
And so, all of that sounds also good, right? It sounds so good.
So much easier said than done.
When you actually do it, it's like, whew, it's so it's a practice. It's a practice, like, to get to that level of awareness of knowing that your ego is like acting out, and that you have to do something about it if you desire. So, for me, one of the like exercises that I have learned, for me a long time ago, was to give your ego a name. Give your ego a name. So if you do that, then you can kind of see your ego as separate from your, true essence and soul that you are. And so when I learned about this exercise, I forgot what it was, like, from a book. I think it's Debbie Ford's book. I did this exercise a long time ago where I separated and gave a name to my ego, and I called her Miss Molly. And this is just really weird how I saw her, but when I did this visualization of what my ego would look like, she's this super tall Black woman with a white hat. She's wearing this like slinky red dress that's polka dotted, kind of like Minnie Mouse, but like a sweetheart, strapless dress. And she's holding a cigarette. This was literally what came to me when I was like seeing who my ego was this tall Black woman with a white brim hat, totally wearing this like Minnie Mouse sweetheart dress that was like so stuck to her body. She had a cigarette. She was sitting on a bench, and I was like, oh my God, my ego looks like that. And the name that came to me was Miss Molly. And so I was like, oh my God, Miss Molly, you need to just chill out and calm the fuck down. Like, you can't even, don't go off on a tangent like that. And so in my visualization, when I was doing this exercise of like, what is the name of my ego? What would your ego like look like? And that's what it looked like to me. Like, that's like this woman who was like this sassy, smoked cigarettes, and she was like, in my vision, she was like sitting on this bench, totally cross-legged, like smoking a cigarette, looking up at the sky, like she's the hottest shit on the planet. And so
who would your ego be like? I mean, if you were to assign a character, would it be like Darth Vader or Homer Simpson?
I don't know. Like,
I haven't thought about it in that sense, but that's a good strategy.
That was an exercise that I learned, so that I could really look at me, the Judy me, the love conscious me, the divinity of God me, and then know that part of me that like acts out, the part of me that goes into like the human experience and decides to stay there, is that Miss Molly. It's not really like me, my soul me.
Well, it's a program.
Yeah, so it was helpful. Like, for myself, it was helpful for me to like see a face and a name, to my ego.
The whole persona with
the whole everything. It was a sassy Black woman smoking a cigarette, like she's hot shit. And like, and I just was like, oh my God, that's so beyond what I don't know, but that's what came up. So I invite you guys to try that. If you want to, you could try that and see.
If that's helpful. You may find it helpful because you can have fun with it, right? You can have fun with it, and then you can call your ego on its own bullshit, right?
So that's what I did. So like, if anything for me started to like come up, and I would notice, you have to have the awareness, right? You have to have the awareness. I was aware of where I was putting my energy. Like if I was putting my energy in being in so much anger about whatever, something that happened, then having that awareness would kind of pull me out of the situation, out of the emotion. I would identify to the Miss Molly who's staying in that in that anger and be like, you better chill out, Miss Molly, and calm down, because we don't even want to be staying there for that long. So it was really helpful. I've shared that with a lot of people. And so if you want to try that, you could try that and see if that works, for you, because it's just, to me, it's just another part. It's another part, of you. And we have to embrace all parts of us. And then we have to treat all parts of us, depending on what's going on, with whatever you need. So if you need to give yourself compassion,
and it's not possible to completely sever our connection with our ego, right? So we can't ignore it. I mean, you can choose to do that, but I don't think it's going to be very effective. So it's part of our darkness. That's the way I see it. So ego has a lot of negative traits because there is a lot of selfishness, or desire to be right, to press your own agenda and exert your own will on others and environment around you, to basically gain control of all the situations. And so the ego tends to be very controlling and manipulative. And so this is what I don't desire for myself. And so I choose to be aware of those aspects of myself, and then I can choose to cool that off, right? Look, this is my ego, cool your jets, right? So don't be so influential in a situation, but it's a practice like anything else. First step is really awareness.
Yeah, you have to recognize. You have to recognize where you're at. Like I see what part of you is taking over, taking over right now. What part of you, because ego is there it wants to protect you. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in that survival mode. So so in that sense, it's good because it's helping you in that sense to keep you safe, I feel.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, that's one way we can think of ego, is that it's a program that is there to keep us safe. But when you understand that you are immortal, eternal being, there's nothing to be scared of. You are just a character in a play, right? And even if there is a game over and you exit, you continue to exist. So there is nothing that can destroy you. You are energetic being. And so when you look at it from that perspective, there is nothing to be afraid of. And of course, the body feels pain and all these stimuli from our environment. So it is natural to have certain fears, right? Fear of heights or whatever it is. Those come with the body and this environmental impact that we experience. But the key again is awareness. Like what ego is, it's not you, and therefore don't take yourself so seriously. Once you understand your character in a play, you can be less serious about this engagement. So you can be still in the world, in the game, but understand you're not of the game. You are something beyond the game, and there you can be conscious observer of the gameplay. Okay, and then you don't even necessarily believe all of your thoughts, right? Because then those thoughts could be implants as well. Those could be manipulations, right? Those could be coming from ego. And so one of the practices that I like is practicing the pause. If something triggers you, if there is strong reaction within you, in that moment, just when you observe it, just pause and don't react right away. And I love the Buddhist thinking or saying is that before you say something, make sure that it passes through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if you practice this, you can really start mastering situations, because sometimes you feel, okay, it's true, I can say it, but is it really necessary, or is it kind? Because for the person who is on the receiving end, it may not be kind, even though it's the truth, but they're not ready to receive or hear the truth, you know? And so, you know, then you're coming from the heart place, and you're not coming from ego. Ego wants to just exert its own will. But, you know, do we really have to do that?
And so with ego too, it comes from a place of duality. So where there is, you know, love and fear and good and bad and all of that. And so, you know, with ego, we're living out the polarity, polarity consciousness, separation consciousness.
And you can think of polarity or duality or consciousness separation. That's the game set. Okay, that's the environment in which we're playing the game. Okay, that is not reality from which we come. That is the reality that we're experiencing here in the meat suit.
And so what like I feel is so important for you to really separate yourself, you know, from this 3D reality, from where we have this polarity consciousness, where there's so much separation consciousness here, right? Where we're seeing, witnessing, living it all out, is to go inside of yourself and access the divinity within you. And, you know, certain practices do that, like meditation. Like for me, meditation has been so key. I've been meditating for over 25 years, and it's been like a practice that has helped me so much, a spiritual practice that has helped me connect to my source, essence, divine being, the connection to God, to prime creator, to my higher self, to my soul. And so the more and more you connect to the essence of who you are, you understand yourself, like why you came here, why you came here in this 3D reality, like living out this polarity consciousness. And so when you engage here in this 3D reality, you'll have more of awareness of the higher aspect, the higher consciousness that you hold inside. So when you go about life, like your ego doesn't take over so much.
Yeah.
You know, you don't like react, you don't like project, you don't judge, like all of those things will start to subside. And so that's what I have noticed for me. And just becoming aware of myself as a divine being of light here on the planet is that, you know, mostly what happens is you get so triggered with people, right? That's how it is, you know. And I just found that for myself is that I don't have that much anymore that triggers me, you know. It's like rare. It's rare now. And if something does, then I go through I take the tools out of my toolbox and I use a tool to like transmute all of that, say, no, Miss Molly, we're not going over there. and really transmute that energy and come back to myself and come back to who I am, come back to my divinity. So that's not saying that you have to discount your feelings and all the things that happen.
Oh no, and those are very real. So even though it's a game environment, so again, if I use analogy of a gameplay, right? It is a game, right? It's a simulation. However, the experiences are very real, and the experiences serve as lessons for us, as a way to explore the environment and play with certain scenarios and outcomes and see how we would respond, right? And so meditation, it's like putting the gameplay on a pause, right? That's your opportunity to connect with your higher self, with source, and pause the game for a little bit. And so that pausing and connecting with higher self allows you to have better clarity when you are in a gameplay, to be more in peace in that state of balance and mastery, because then you understand that, hey, I'm just here in this environment temporarily, and how do I choose to interact here? Rather than being so sucked in to this immersive environment that you think this is the only reality there is, and you forget that this is just a gameplay.
And so what happens is, like, if you do allow that to happen, like your ego to take over, then you become a victim to your circumstance. And then you feel like you have no control, you know, over the circumstance, but you freaking have so much control over it all, because you're a divine being of light, and you do not have to hold, you know, that energy like that inside of you. So you can, once you start to master yourself, then you can really affect the field. You can affect, you know, a lot of things, you know, are around you. And so I feel like being aware of the ego and knowing how that how your ego like acts out, and just if you take a look back, in all the instances and all the things where you experience like this blast of your ego coming like right in, you know, and doing all these crazy, well, I can just talk about myself because I've done some crazy shit, you
Same
know.
with me.
My ego has like come out and done some crazy things, and like I now I look back on those things and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't have a level of awareness. I didn't have
Same with me.
the level of consciousness that I do now. And like I was just like letting my ego totally take over and reacting, and then being in this victim, you know, mode for the longest, feeling like I had no control over myself, my emotions, the field, you know, none of that, feeling totally helpless.
Yeah,
you know,
we can talk about all these experiences because we've been there. We've done
oh my
that.
God.
We tripped over ourselves so many times.
Yeah.
You know, how many times I've like acted out of ego and selfishness or desire to control and manipulate.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've been there. I've done that. You know, I own it. You know, I'm accountable for it, but I also see it as a lesson. You know, so I mean, we keep repeating the lessons until we learn them. You know, and sometimes for a soul, it takes a lifetime just to learn one lesson. But what's beautiful right now at this time on earth is that we have ability to completely let go of karma and to learn lessons once and for all, so we don't have to continue repeating them, which is so beautiful. It's such a gift to humanity right now from the universe as this shift, drastic shift in the consciousness expansion that is occurring on the planet. So this is truly a gift from the universe, and it's an opportunity for us to have such an exponential growth if we choose that, you know. And again, this gameplay is all about free will. Of course, there are aspects, you know, of the game that have been hijacked. So the free will is not entirely so free, you know. There is still free will, but there is heavy manipulation going on as well, which makes it look like we don't have freedoms in some areas. But you always have options, you always have choices, you always have free will. You just have to come back and remember that we have free will, and you don't have to consent to anything that doesn't resonate with you. Connect to your inner guru through your heart. You know, it is time to stop following other teachers. It is time to get within you, listen to your own truth. If something doesn't resonate, you know, just don't listen to it. Don't follow it. Follow your own guidance. You know, that is the truth. That is the divinity. When you start meditating, when you start connecting to your inner self, when you start connecting to your heart and creating that mind-heart coherence. So we're not driven by our intellect alone. We are directed by our heart, and use heart as a moral compass and a truth detector in our reality. You know, then we can lead lives that are more fulfilling and harmonious and loving, and it's just completely different existence.
Yeah, when you kind of delve more into the other aspects of spirituality, and you kind of know about how humanity has been manipulated and how humanity has been hijacked with so many energetic things, happen, and then you kind of like, when you kind of know that information, and then you look around and you see like, holy cow, like, whoa, this is why a lot of ego is taking over. This is why a lot of people are like existing from that place of duality and separation consciousness, because they've got certain implants and things in them, entities and shit like that, on them, and like, woo, if only, like, instead of doctors, we had like galactic shamans to go to. And the galactic shaman could like take out all of those inorganic things that are not supposed to be, on your human. And you could like, choose, let's just activate your DNA right now, and you could be the angelic galactic humans that you're meant to be here on the planet. And of course, you would not live from that ego space.
Well, you are already galactic.
Yeah, you
angelic being.
You are that.
But the level of manipulation and control is so strong that you don't remember. And that is the problem. If you are in a gameplay and you don't remember who you are, then the game is kind of rigged against you, right? So the whole point is to like awaken to the fact that you are in a gameplay, and that you are a master, and you have ability to control the outcome, and be truly master of the game. And then it becomes truly fun, because then you're co-creator of your reality. You're no longer a victim, and you can truly exist from the place of highest choice.
And so, always with anything, the first step is the awareness, right? That's with anything. Like, if you want to change anything, first you have to be aware. You got to have the awareness of the whole, everything, whatever the situation, is, and kind of know that you want to get from A to B, right? Like,
yes. And there are various levels of awareness,
right? Yeah, we understand that too, because sometimes, especially in the New Age community, you think like, oh, I'm waking up, I got crystals, I got I'm like, I'm gonna go do Reiki. That was me. Like, I'm doing yoga. Empath. Yeah, I'm gonna, that was me like over 25 years ago. I see it back then, but that was kind of like my intro. That was my intro to spirituality. And I think a lot of people are in that place where you feel drawn. Like, that's what it felt like for me. Like, I felt drawn, like, ooh, what is this yoga thing? I'm gonna do that. And at first class, I'm like, I'm gonna be a yoga instructor. First Reiki session, I'm gonna do Reiki. Like, that was me though. That was like the Aries, full out, go for it, and do it. And a lot of people are coming into that because you feel the resonance with things. You feel that there's like a shift or something happening, within you. So things are going to start to align for you.
Listen to your intuition.
And so listen to all of that, because sometimes the ego can get in the way and be super logical and like, crystals, this doesn't make sense. Those are just rocks, things like that. Like the ego can shut down so much that logical mind, because it doesn't make sense here in the mind.
Yeah, and ego is an inorganic program, right? So it is really not connected to the source, right? So that is whatever is inorganic and not in alignment with divine light and love cannot fully comprehend the Great Spirit, the God, the universe, right? So it is obviously going to be in resistance to that. It's going to be a block to that. So that is the reason why it is important to understand it about our ego, and it's not serving us, and it is up to us to master ourselves so that ego is not in driving position, right? So it's not in driver's seat. I understand I have an ego, I'm not able to completely get rid of the ego. So it's maybe part of this existence in a 3D, that ego is part of my environment and part of this Earth rover bodysuit. But it is not in a driver's seat, and I have choice to observe it and choose when I allow ego to come into play or not.
Mm-hmm. And so all of it, though, is a conscious choice as to how you desire to exist here on the planet. And we know that when you have first that awareness of what's playing out, how you think about some things, you know, is it in this duality consciousness? Is it in this separation, you know, consciousness? Is that how your thinking, you know, is? And like who's driving that thought in there? Who's putting those thoughts? Who's putting thoughts of judgment and criticism and expectation in there? Like, who's doing that? Who's doing that?
Is it really me, or is it
that
an implant?
you? Is it you, or really who you are? This is why I feel like meditation is so key. I feel like it's just such a tool for light workers, empaths, intuitives, starseeds, you know, for you to find the connection inside. And then when you do connect more, you know, with your own self, then you can understand the bigger aspect of who you are, and it affects you here in your body and how you interact with people, and you start to notice that you're more living from that aligned place and connection within your soul than from that ego place here in the physical. And you'll start to notice that a lot of relationships change, right?
Absolutely. Right, because ego a lot of times it thrives on conflict, right? So ego defines itself by pushing its own agenda. And so when you're pushing your own agenda, guess what? You're going to create more conflicts in relationships. You know, once you're being mindful of your ego and what it creates and keeping it in check, you can exist harmoniously. You may see that somebody has different opinion, but you don't need to push your opinion on anybody else because you are comfortable with where you are and you're honoring where everybody else is in their journey and in their consciousness. And there is no need to prove anything.
Right. And so to me, like on this journey, this spiritual journey, this journey of expansion, this journey into the age of Aquarius, this journey into New Earth, this like journey in itself, we find that it's critical, like to check yourself, like check yourself, check your ego, like what's dominating your field, how are you reacting, and to
minding your own business.
Yeah, to really look at your own self. I look at myself like a long time ago, and I'm just like, who was that person? Who was that person?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, same with me. I mean, I don't even recognize who I was like 2-3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Let alone like 10-20 years ago.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So that's part of the growth and development, and that's a good thing. So yeah, this is and only we are responsible for ourselves and what we choose for ourselves, how we act and how we choose to grow and who we choose to become.
I was telling Iggy, like I've told him many times, like, God, if you knew me like 25 years ago, you would think she's a bitch. Like I was so in this more of duality consciousness. I didn't wake up yet. I was like, wow. I was just like, when I was married, like
demanding.
Demanding. And my when I was married, my ex
fully in your ego
would say like, it's your way or the highway, and I'd be like, fuck yeah, it is. Like, everybody has to like do what I say, you know. And so it like, you know, that's how I was, because I didn't
princess mode.
I didn't like take anybody's feelings into consideration. I was like way demanding. I was like I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. I was totally like that. And I'm just like, who is that person? I think about that now, like, who was that?
Yeah.
It just, when I tell people that, they're like, what? We can't even see you like that. I go, I know, I can't even see myself like that.
But
either.
that happens with growth and healing, right? So as you embark on this journey of healing, you don't reject those aspects of yourself that were misbehaving or acting out or whatever. You basically just accept them with love and understanding and transmute them. So you basically integrate the darkness into you, right? To the point where it's no longer acting out. I mean, we all have capacity to act any way we desire. You know, I could choose to become enraged and screaming and yelling and whatever, but I know I don't desire to vibrate there. Why would I do that? You know, there were parts of my life when I was doing that, and there was unhealed shit that was within me. And now I choose not to do that anymore. But it's not because I rejected that. It's because I was able to integrate that through healing process. And so that is what shadow work is all about. It's about accepting the darkness within us and integrating that within.
So, you know, right now we really invite you to look like, look at yourself,
Look within.
Look at your ego, look how your ego is dominating you, look at all those instances where it has, you know, come full force, you know, out with other people. Look at how your ego talks to you. What is your ego saying to you? And just first become aware.
Yeah.
Just become aware. Just become aware of that aspect of yourself, and then, you know, go within.
Yeah, and one other thing that I would like to say with that, when you are observing yourself, when you're being aware, you're just in this role of observer. Try to be a neutral observer without judgment. So be compassionate for yourself, right? We all have shit within us that we need to heal and transmute. So none of us is clear and free of that. So each and every one of us can continue to like knock ourselves down, but it's not going to serve us, right? So when we are coming towards self-healing from that place of neutrality, we can be more objective, right? And we can heal faster than when we are in a place of judgment and condemning ourselves. Because if you continue to condemn yourself and to judge yourself, guess what? You're going to be projecting it outwardly to others around you. Usually going to see it in your relationships.
And you can go in a downward spiral, right? When you keep doing that and holding that energy, and then, you know, then you have so much anxiety and become depressed and all of that. And, you know, we don't desire that for you guys.
So that compassionate neutrality is really your divinity. That's your divine nature, right? Existing in that neutrality, that place of observing with, you know, you're still fully aware of everything. You can call it for what it is. So not being in a denial, that's not what I'm talking about. Knowing exactly what the truth is, and you can state the truth lovingly with kindness, but not condemn it, not judge it.
So you can hold that part of you with so much love, you know, and like, it's okay. Like, it's okay that you're moving through this right now. It's okay that you're angry. It's okay that you're feeling anxiety. It's okay that you're, you know, feeling fear. It's okay. And just like give that part of yourself so much love, because, you know, it is us, but you can do something about it. So we just want you guys to know that you have the power to, you know, heal yourself, self-soothe yourself, to really shift your own energy and move from that place of duality back into the oneness that you are and the divinity of who you are inside of you.
And I'm going to get back to the analogy of gameplay. your higher self is never damaged, right? Your higher self is
it's
whole.
your soul. Yeah.
That's your source energy. And so what's hurt, what's damaged or traumatized is the game player. It's the game player. Okay. So understand that it's only the gameplay. And so again, when you go into that observer mode, you're connecting to your higher self, where you can be in a place of neutrality, that neutral observer, and then you can hold space with love and compassion for the game player and for the character that you're playing over here. This is how you can facilitate healing in a faster way through that love and compassion.
And one last thing that's super helpful to everybody is if you drink cacao.
Yes.
I'm only going to say that because this medicine of cacao helps so much. I like drink my cacao. My thing is empty. But cacao is a beautiful medicine that helps to open up your heart, you know, and your heart holds, it's a portal to the divine. And so it is sort of this beautiful gateway into who you are and connecting to self. And then I just really strongly believe in the power of this sacred medicine of cacao.
Ceremonial cacao,
not like any chocolate, but ceremonial cacao. And if you guys desire to journey with this medicine, like let us know, because we're here to support you. We're here to support you on this journey. If you'd like to come into our community, livinginohmcommunity.com, and gather with us there, because we talk a lot about cacao.
Share your ideas
and
find support for healing.
We'll support you in your journey. We have a 21-day cacao self-love journey that you can go through on your own and work with the sacred medicine and do all these self-love practices for 21 days. It's a beautiful thing to embark on and to connect with the spirit of cacao and feel the heart opening. And so we invite you guys to come.
Yes. So much love for all of you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
So thankful
for spending this time for us. We're so super grateful for connecting with all of you and for you guys sharing your sacred hearts with us. We feel so blessed to have you all in our lives, and we feel so blessed to be able to share.
Yes, that's part of our mission. Yes.
To help this community. We love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us for Cacao and Conscious Conversations.
Much love to all of you.
Yes, and we'll see you guys next time.
Namaste.
Namaste.